Greetings, everybody. Top of the day. And it is indeed a great privilege to be part of this presentation to share my experience in the agricultural space in Nigeria. So my presentation is to explore the Southwest ecosystem for agricultural value chain and financing options. So, but I've remodeled the title to read Exploring the Southwest Nigeria for Agricultural Business. Then we'll look at the profitability and we'll look at the financial options in doing agribusiness in the Southwest. But let me begin with a news flash that came up recently when the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, asked the CBN to halt forex for food importation. And of course, the CBN governor responded by saying that they will carry out the president's directive to the letter. To some people, it is bad news. But for those of us in agribusiness, it is good news depending on the way we handle it, because this creates opportunity for any serious investor in agribusiness to do business. So if you look at the oil that we focus on, the crude oil that we focus on, if you look at the price, it keeps fluctuating from, now it is selling at 335 naira to $35 to $42 per barrel. So it is not a stable commodity for any country to depend on. And if you look at the refined product of crude oil, you have the petrol, the diesel, and the kerosene. And the prices are also, until recently, that the petrol was increased from between 159 to 161 naira per barrel. But if you look at another oil that God has blessed us with as a nation, it is the palm oil that we get from our palm tree. If you look at palm oil, the price of palm oil in the last 5 to 6 years has never dropped below $90 per barrel. Sometimes it went as high as $125 per barrel. And this is something that is stable, and this is something that we can easily tap in and grow in our country, especially in the southwestern part of the country. If you look at the products from palm oil, you have the regular palm oil that is selling for about 200 to 300 naira per liter. That is even more expensive than your refined petrol. If you look at the special palm oil, which is a higher grade of palm oil, it is selling for between 450 naira to 600 naira per liter. And if you look at palm kernel oil, it's selling for between 250 and 350 naira per liter. So, but the question is, between palm oil and crude oil, which one is easier to produce? Which one can we produce in the southwest of Nigeria? If you look at crude oil, it is very complicated, it is very capital intensive, and production of crude oil, whether you like it or not, degrades our environment. That's why you have the problem and challenges that we have in the Niger Delta right now. And this has been with us for some time. And of course, the crude oil, once you remove it, you can't replace it. It is non-renewable. Whereas our palm oil, on the other side, production is simpler. You can produce it anywhere. It is reasonably priced. That means the price is even higher than the price of petrol that we want to kill ourselves for. And of course, palm oil production, especially the palm, is environmental friendly, because when you plant the tree, it will give oxygen to the environment, it will renew the environment, and it is easily renewable. Another poser that I want to give before I go into the main discourse is to talk about cement. If you look at cement, the price of cement, 50 kg bag of cement sells for between 2,550 and 2,800 naira. And if you look at, that means if you put it per kg, it's selling for 51 to 56 naira per kg. Whereas if you look at chicken and agri products, chicken sells for 50 kg is 60,000 naira. Chicken, I sell chicken. By the way, the brand of chicken on display is our chicken brand, and we sell, until recently, we were selling at 1,200 per kg. Some others sell for more. So if you take the price of cement and the price of chicken, which one has more value? Of course, the chicken has more value. So I haven't laid down those background. I'd like to talk about the different options that you have as an investor that you can look at to invest in agriculture. So when you talk about agriculture and agribusiness, they are two different things. I will focus this discussion more on agribusiness. That means you are combining the business of agriculture together to make a profit for yourself and also solve the food problem that every human faces. So that's why we're looking at agribusiness value chain. So we're not just looking at one aspect of agribusiness or agriculture. So in agribusiness, you have the input side. That is the area where all the things that are needed for the production activities to be efficient comes under the input side of agribusiness. Then you have the production side. Production side is when you actually go to the field to plant, to grow your chicken, so that is production side. Then of course there's also another side of it, which is value addition. You are adding value to a primary product that have come out of the agricultural field. So that is value addition. Then you have the trade side and you have the market side. The trade side is where the financing institutions and all the support institutions, insurance, all of them come under this. Then market, that is the end. That is when the product actually gets to the consumer. So when you talk about agriculture, there are different sides to it. You have the crop production and all the value chain that supports the crop production. Then you have the animal production. But let's take it one at a time. Crop production. If you have the short-term investment in crop production, then you are looking at things like maize, rice, that if you plant them, you will harvest. If you plant maize, I think maize is 110, 112 days. They have even some improved variety, I think about 100 days or a little less now for maize. For rice, it's about 3 months. Then you have the one that are slightly longer than 5 months. You have the roots and the tubers. They are longer than 5 months. So if you have your cassava is 9 months. If you have your yam, it's 9 months. If you have cocoyam, it is 9 months. So those are examples of, they're still short-term investment, but they're just longer than if you plant your maize or rice. Then, of course, if you are interested in planting the legumes, investing in the legumes, if you plant your soya beans, if you plant your groundnut, if you plant your beans, what we call the cowpea, usually between 5 to 6 or so. All these ones that I've listed, from cassava, yam, cocoyam, soya beans, groundnut, cowpeas, and all of that, they are still short term, but their tenure or the time it will take for you to harvest and turn them to money is about 6 to 12 months. Now, if you look at mango cultivation, banana, plantain, pineapple, pawpaw, this takes a longer time, from 1 to 2 years, sometimes 3 years for mango, for instance. These are medium-term agribusiness investment. But of course, you have the longer-term, the long-term agribusiness investment in crops. Now you are looking at permanent crops like the oil palm that I gave example of, cocoa, rubber, coconut. These are permanent crops. They are with you. Once you plant them, the oil palm can be productive for between 20 and 25 years, and same with your cocoa and rubber and coconut. So there are crops that once you plant, you just need to tend and manage them, and you'll be harvesting from them on a regular basis for the next 20 years. Then also under crop production, you can have vegetables. You can grow vegetables. Vegetables are usually a short-term investment. So you can have your cabbage, pepper, tomato, lettuce, spices, melons, leafy vegetables like your shoko, tete. There's this popular one now, ugu. You can have all of these as short-term investments. You can have your bitter leaf. A lot of people don't know that you can make money from bitter leaf, what we call ewuro in Yoruba. Then another area of agriculture that we have been neglecting in Nigeria, particularly in the southwest, is the growing of flowers and ornamental plants. Flowers and ornamental plants, they are huge investment. Before the coronavirus pandemic, if you know how much Nigerians are spending to import flowers into the country, you will know. At Valentine and all of those things, and even for events, weddings, parties, birthdays, they import flowers from Kenya, from South Africa into Nigeria. And these are things that we can grow successfully in the country. So if you are looking for opportunity to invest, you can invest in flower and ornamental plants. And they are usually short term. Some from 6 months to 12 months, you can start harvesting the flowers and the plants, and you can make a lot of money from investing in ornamental plants. So what I've done is to break it down. Now we're talking about crop production. I'll still talk about animal production because I'm an animal scientist, so I will not do justice to my profession if I don't talk about those. But still on crops, to wrap up, you have the economic permanent crops. And what I've done is to highlight the value chain options, listing the different plants, the different crops, starting with land clearing. That is one side. Then you can have the sale of agrochemicals and inputs, because all of these crops, I said they are permanent crops, but you need to maintain them. Then you can look at seedling production. Seedling production for oil palm, for cocoa, for rubber. That means you are not even involved in allowing them to fruit. You just nurse them to the point that they can be transplanted to other people's farm. You sell them off. Then if you look at the actual cultivation and the establishment of the plantation, so that's another line of business if you have the technical know-how. Then another line of business, still on crop. I'm still talking about crop, and now we're looking at permanent crop, is the processing and value addition. We'll share some examples of processing and value addition for some of these crops. Then when the products are ready, marketing and distribution of the finished product is a major business, and it is big business for anybody that will show interest. So just like you have for the permanent crop, you can also have businesses along the value chain for these crops, for the arable crops. Now, if we look at animal production, so again, animal production, we have the short term. Let me list I will approach the presentation for animal production slightly different. I will list the animals and talk about their duration and tenure. So let me start with poultry. So for poultry, we have broiler production. Broiler production, that means you are producing chicken for meat. And duration for broiler production is maximum 2 months, 8 weeks. If you are doing very great, we have a farm that are doing, in fact, broiler production is now being counted in days. From 35 days, you start cropping, depending on the weight that you want to harvest your body. If you want to harvest them at 1.6, 1.7, 35 days, they are ready. If you want to harvest them at 1.8, 2 kg, then you can wait from 38 days, 40, but maximum 8 weeks. If you are doing your broiler production and it is more than 8 weeks, then you are not making money, you are not in business. 6 weeks, is your best bet. That's 42 days. The birds are ready for market. Then under poultry too, you have the layer production. These layers are chicken that will give you eggs on a daily basis. Actually, every 26 hours, not every 24 hours. So they lay every 26 hours if you manage and feed them very well. So for layers, you have to wait for a longer period of time because laying has to do with the maturity of the birds. And the hen will mature at the age of when they are 5 months old or thereabout. Then you can also do chicken for meat, where you do the cockerel and the free-range chicken. They are longer term. Cockerel are the male of the layers. You know, after setting the layers in cages and they are laying their the male counterpart are the cockerel, so you can raise them for meat. Then you can also do free-range chicken. That is where a lot of people are focusing attention now. More of that, we have developed some chicken that can free range, and you can you spend less on their feeding. So that takes about 6 months. 6 months, 12 months to be cutting it for too long. Then, if you're talking about under animal production too, you can do rabbit. Rabbit is an exotic meat. It's not cheap. It's not meat for everybody. It's meat for people who appreciate it, people who are very careful about what they eat, especially when we talk about cholesterol and all of this intake. So rabbit meat is good. Now you can have the pigs, you can have snail, you can have sheep and goat, you can have cattle. For pigs, 9 months duration. Snail, 12 months. Forget about anybody telling you that you can do snails and make money in 6 months. It's from the 12th month, even up to 13th month, that you start making money from your snail production. Then you have sheep and goats that have a tenure of between 12 and 18 months, depending on what you are doing. But for sheep and goat, if you are doing fattening, that means you are buying already bred material that are just maybe a couple of weeks old or months old. Then you buy them and you fatten them for 90 days. That's 3 months. So I can put your investment in sheep and goat from 90 days to, that 90 days is 3 months to 18 months, depending on your operation. Then the one that has a longer tenure is the cattle production. When I say cattle production, you can have cattle production for meat, that is beef cattle production, and you can have cattle production for milk, that is dairy cattle production. All of these present opportunity for investment. Another side is to look at fish farming. Fish farming is huge in southwestern Nigeria, and it's a very good area of agribusiness investment. The tenure is 6 months. 6 months. But some have found a way around it. If you buy fingerlings, then you can make it shorter, maybe from 4 months, and you feed them very well. So when you do fish farming, you can do it in tanks, in concrete tanks, in plastic tanks, or you can even have 18 ponds for your fish farming. I have illustration to show some of these things. In summary, for livestock value chain, we talked about poultry, piggery, aquaculture, many livestock, ruminants, small ruminants, and large ruminants. So for poultry, there are so many businesses or enterprises that you can have in poultry business, right from brooder farm to hatchery to marketing DOC to having mother unit, that is where you brood and you sell, to broiler production, to layer production. And all of these have input supplies, and they have processing and value addition, and they have marketing side to it. So what I've highlighted is to show you the different options and also to identify the spaces in the value chain that anybody that is interested in agriculture can come and fill. So My advice is that you should find your space within the various agricultural value chains that I have highlighted and do your business and make the money in a clean way that you'll be very happy that you have contributed to society by providing food, and you have also been able to take care of your responsibilities. So, but agriculture now, or agribusiness now, is different from the agribusiness that we had in the 80s, in the 90s, even in the early 2000s. So agriculture in year 2020 is smart agribusiness. Smart, where you will embrace a lot of technology. So agribusiness will be simple, but it will be also measurable, and it will also be acceptable. The practice, the innovations that you are bringing in will be acceptable to your target audience, your consumers, and of course, it should be rewarding to you. It will be rewarding to you, and it must be technologically driven. Simple, inexpensive technologies are available. Of course, the expensive ones are also very available if you can afford it, but the simple technology, you must bring it into your agriculture, into your agribusiness, so that you can get the desired results that you have. So I have examples of the way we were doing business in the past and the innovations that are coming. So I have illustration of piggery, the way it was and the way it should be. If you look at the way we were doing broiler before, this broiler farm is actually my broiler farm in the 90s. But if you look at the way broiler is being done now, broiler is being done in cages. And this may be expensive, but you will get the returns on your investment if you can raise the capital to do this kind of broiler production. If you look at, this is actually a layer farm that I managed in the 80s. In the 80s. The other one was my farm, but look at the way layers production is being done now. This is a farm in Nigeria. This is in Imo State. Yeah, it's in Imo State where I took the picture of this farm. They are making huge, they're producing 60,000 crates every day. Now, I brought this picture of transporting chicken. This is actually real. You know, when I go around with my camera and my phone, I see things interesting, I snap them. So this is how chickens are being transported somewhere in the north. And of course, you are very familiar with the one in the, we call it Ago. That one is still happening. If you go to Igbo market or Onikpan market or Bodija market, you still see chicken being transported in this. But somebody can come up with a solution to transport chicken in a more modern and more efficient way. This way you carry more chicken than what they are carrying with those mode of cars. So it's business. Of course, this is how we're rearing our cattle, but this is how we should be rearing our cattle. This way, the cattle will be more efficient. So look at the way, this is an abattoir in somewhere in Nigeria. I don't want to mention the name. But if you decide to go into the business of meat processing, you can have hygienic meat. When your customers know that where you are producing the meat, you will get more market than the people that are producing it on the floor if you package your business very well. So I just highlighted this to show the option. Look at the way they are transporting our goats, slaughtered goats. I'm sure you have seen this. If you have not seen it, you've seen something close to it. But your slaughtered goat can be transported in a more hygienic and more acceptable manner. And that is business solution that somebody can create to transport goat. Your own is not to raise the animal, it's just to provide transportation in a refrigerated truck that will take it from the abattoir to where it is needed. So those are business options. There are so many that we can talk about, but because time is running out and I have to talk about the financing option now. We can talk about cassava flour and starch production. We can talk about egg powder. I'm particularly very keen on egg powder because we're doing something with the government on egg powder production in Nigeria. So it can be produced the same way powdered milk is produced, egg powder can be produced. It's a huge investment, but if you do that in Nigeria, it will save us a lot of foreign exchange that the food companies are using to import egg powder at the moment. You can do milk collection, you can do cattle fattening, I mentioned that earlier. Then one area of agribusiness that is still in the infancy is IT solutions for agribusiness. A lot of people don't know that you can make a lot of money if you develop software that will give solutions to some of the challenges that we are facing in agribusiness. So if you're an IT person, just think of something or collaborate with an agri person and look at the challenges that they're having and use IT to solve the problem. So you can do that. You can develop app for surveillance and for monitoring. A lot of people want to know what goes on their farm when they're not there. So if you can develop an application that will help them do that, it is business. You are doing agribusiness, but you are bringing IT applications. So there's so many IT agribusiness that you can think about. Now, before I go on, I want to make a warning, because right now, if you go into social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you will see a lot of people promising fantastic return on investment for agriculture. This, I would say, beware. Beware, because it is what we call packaging. Some of the returns are not realistic, because having been in this line of business for over 30 years, I know the percentage that you can make when you invest in broiler, when you invest in oil palm, when you invest in cattle rearing, when you invest in cassava production, when you invest in maize. So, but I'm seeing some percentages that are way above, if not double, that, and that is not realistic. So I'll just say tread cautiously. I just thought I should drop in that note of warning. Now, when you talk about funding agribusiness, I'm rounding up, and there are so many options. CBN has a package called the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme. It's available. CBN has another body that they have created that is called Nigerian Incentive-Based Risk Sharing System for Agri Lending, NILSA for short. NILSA is working because I know a couple of people that have gotten funding for NILSA. But again, you have to be prepared to go through all the scrutiny and the rigors that they put you through. The Bank of Agriculture there is also there to support agriculture. So the Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry have a fund that they call the CAP fund. That is the Cottage Agro-Processing Fund. This is strictly for agro-processing. I will discuss more on that. Then the Development Bank of Nigeria has a fund that is called Micro and Small Enterprises, Small Medium Enterprises Fund, MSME funds. You can also access that, and I think some commercial banks also have that. Then the commercial banks, they have what we call the Real Sector Support Facilities. They call it different names, but it's supposed to support real sector, agriculture, and industry, and all that. And lastly, for funding, there are some international, multinational, or multilateral donor agencies that support agriculture. I've been privileged to work with some of them and got support from some of them. So I'll just give examples. There is the International Finance Corporation, there is TwoScale, there is DFID, there is USAID. There are so many of them, even up to South Korea, Japan. They all have funds to support agri-businesses. So if you can go through the rigors, all the scrutiny that they will put you through, you can access the fund. So, I mean, we can end it here, but I can also look at some case studies of the fish pond and tell you the different locations. These are the one on top is in Ikorodu. The one below is in Ijebu-Ode. Those are fish farms in Ijebu-Ode. Then this a greenhouse tomato project in Oshogbo. This is in Oshogbo. Then you can do chicken processing. The turkey that is shown there is somebody that does turkey only at the end of the year as a business. He grows the turkey and he sells to companies at the end of the year. So if you don't have the temperament to grow, you can just be buying from people that are growing and look for companies or people that will buy turkey at the end of the year. Then I've talked about layer business, but you can integrate the layer and vegetable such that the manure from the chicken, after they have decomposed, you can use them as organic manure for vegetable production. So there are different options. Gari processing, right from the cottage gari processing. This is somewhere in the Erua in Oyo State, to a modern gari frying factory and all that. I showed that gari process does not have to be crude. You can modernize your own production process and you are in business. And of course, for huge investment in cassava starch production, I highlighted this case study. This is somewhere in Agbara. Agbara is Ogun State. They produce cassava starch. Then, of course, if you don't have the huge capital, you can do small scale poultry production. You can do plantain flour processing. So I'm just listing all these options to show that it is enormous. Once you make up your mind, you have the right temperament, you have the right spirit, you want to do good business, agriculture is there for you. So to round up, let me just talk about what we offer. We help people to develop their concept for agribusiness. We help you to develop a comprehensive business plan. Then most agribusiness or financing institution will require that you contribute at least 20 to 30% of what is required to do the business. Nobody will give you money 100% to go and do the business. So we offer you advice and all of that, and we can package all of it. So in a nutshell, agribusiness is big business if we make the right consultation, if we get the indices right, if you choose the right location. You can build a legacy for yourself and your family in agribusiness. So thank you very much for your attention.